Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today. I always feel like this is just a party with friends at InstructureCon, so I really am happy to be here, to be meeting so many of you. So I've had the opportunity to present a few times at Instructure, and we've, some of the topics have been a little more technical, talking about JavaScript or LTIs or analytics, those kinds of things. This is going to be a little bit different. So I'm hoping it comes across okay, but as I was thinking what to present on, I was trying to keep from stepping on the toes of some of my colleagues. Now that I've kind of moved into a director role, I don't actually get to do as much of the actual hands-on cool stuff as I used to get to do, and so a lot of my colleagues are really to be credited for so much of what we're here talking about today. And what I wanted to do was look back a little bit and share somewhat of a retrospective in terms of some of the things that we've learned looking back about our Canvas migration. So I'm just going to, well, that didn't look as good once the font changed, but I'm going to cut to the chase a little bit here on some of the key points that I'm talking about. So looking back over the last 6 years, we migrated to Canvas in 2011. We were one of the early adopters, and we were at one of the early, the first InstructureCon back when we were in like 2 small conference rooms, and I think it was Josh Coates versus our admin playing zombie typing games and things after the keynote. But in those years, a lot's changed, and we've grown a whole lot organizationally. And I'm not going to say that everything had to do with Canvas. There are a lot of factors involved in that. But there were certain things that, looking back in hindsight, were leveraging factors that came directly out of our Canvas migration and our approach to Canvas that have made a big difference organizationally and helped us to really learn and grow. So I want to just share with you some of those. Now, none of these are rocket science. Some of these are fairly obvious. But I hope that, maybe something will stick out and you'll be able to say, hey, this either validates what we're doing or maybe there's something that you can work with. So I'm going to hit on 6 points. These are what I figure are some leverage points that we were able to use. 1 is an excuse to focus on quality. 2 is having a visible success. 3, having new connections with stakeholders. The ability to say yes more often, more time for design and outreach, and then access to data. Now, a lot of these things are things that we should be doing all the time anyway, right? But sometimes it takes a migration to kind of help us have the excuse. I think of, when you go to sell your house and you need to stage it, what's one of the first things you do? You clean it, you declutter, you paint it, right? All those things, after you're done doing that, you're like, why didn't we do this 2 or 3, 4 years ago? How come we're doing it now when we're going to leave our house? Now I actually like my house. And in a lot of ways, that's what migration does for us. So this is one of the keys that I want to bring up. One of the mantras that we've adopted as an organization is this idea of be the solution. And we don't have the t-shirts yet, but they're going to look like this. And that has been something that has really grown out of our approach to our Canvas migration. That's really done a lot to bring us where we're at today. And I hope that kind of comes through. So I want to start here with an excuse to focus on quality and share some of our experiences there. So early on, when we started migrating to Canvas, our director at the time was really a pretty astute fellow, and he said, we've had this course quality rubric that we haven't really done a whole lot with. We kind of pull it out sometimes on new developments and we take a look at it. But we're going to be touching every single course. We're going to be talking to every single faculty member. How about we pull out that course quality rubric and we run all of our online courses through it. And we make every single course get an evaluation, and we sit down with the instructors and we talk with them about it. And it was a fair amount of work. It added a fair amount. We ended up hiring 6 students, and then we just gave them a lot of rubric evaluations to do. And then as we contacted faculty, we'd sit down with each one of them and we'd say, hey, somebody went through your course with an evaluation rubric. It wasn't me. It was one of these students over here. But this is what they pulled out. And then we'd sit there and we'd talk with them and and it would open up a good conversation. And, you know, a lot of times they'd say, well, I feel like this was a little bit unfair, and I feel like maybe I don't quite get this metric. And in our approach, we weren't saying like, hey, you know, you've really got to shape up. We were just like, we would just use it to be able to start a conversation. And what was good about that you know, I've seen since, is that at that point, that idea of using a rubric became institutionalized. Suddenly, it wasn't unexpected to have us pulling out a rubric to evaluate a course. And then we had department heads contacting us and saying, hey, I'm really interested if you could run that rubric evaluation on some of these other courses, or I'm really interested to know what the results that you got were so that we can work with some of our faculty and start with some of those that scored lower and help bring them up. And so next thing you knew, the other thing that came out of it, as we said, as we started using the rubric, we said, you know, there's a few things in this rubric that don't actually make that much sense to our students. There's a few things that we do have to explain a lot to faculty. It's a little bit weak. And so what did we do? We went back, we revised. We revised our rubric, and we had data from which we started to build programs where we were using faculty as mentors and things. Today, I think I've talked about our rubric before here, but today we are on version 3.2 of our course quality rubric. So I'll just pull that up here, if I can get my cursor. Yeah. Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay, so this is mostly what we use for online courses, and this is a PDF version. When we actually fill it out, we do it in Qualtrics, but we have a printable PDF that also scores things. And the point where we're at now is we have about 50% of our rubric focusing on structural characteristics of the course, the things that we can really say, hey, look, you can get 50% of this knocked out if you just use our template or our templating tools. Because this is structural stuff. This gets students in, figuring out where they're going, finding information about the course, that kind of thing. And then the other half is learning design, the other 50%. And so, because I don't know if you've ever taken a look at a course, or sometimes you get a call from somebody saying, hey, we're hearing problems about this course. And you look, and in our case, a lot of times, you know, half the time, the course either doesn't look good, but as you dig into it, it's actually got some pretty good activities and some pretty good learning resources and experiences. Or sometimes you look at it and it's beautiful, but then you go in and it's really not that, you know, that interesting of a course when it comes to course content. So here we're trying to look at a little bit of both, you know. On the other half, look at the alignment of objectives, look at the use of feedback, look at the opportunity for experience and that sort of thing. So I'm going to put this link back up here, give you a chance to take a look at it. It is on our website. You're welcome to go grab it, take a look at it, adopt it, or adapt it, whatever you want. You'll recognize there's a little bit of a number of different rubrics here, but over time we've kind of adapted it to our own. But the main idea, the takeaway, is as you're going through implementing Canvas, use it as an opportunity to be able to focus on course quality and leverage that. It's one of your doorways into getting this notion of course quality into the minds of faculty, this notion of measurement into the minds of faculty and administrators. And now this is just what we do. And we're approached about it. We have faculty going up for tenure who come and say, hey, can you measure my course against this? And then they put it in their portfolios and things like that. So it's been a great leveraging factor for helping us to move from being a tech support shop more to now one that's more involved in course quality. Okay, so part 2, visible success. We were fortunate that our rollout of Instructure was successful. At the time, there were 6 other schools on Canvas when we moved to it as a state. And I remember when we made the selection, when we moved away from Blackboard, it felt like we were taking a big leap into the unknown, but it felt like we were doing something fairly momentous. And I remember feeling like something really cool could come out of this. But at the time, we were wondering, are we going to be looking for something else in a couple years, or are we going to be in a crowded auditorium at Canvas World, 6 years from now? And I'm really glad it worked out this way. Because we had that success, here's a graph of our Canvas usage since 2011. You see us climbing there from around 50% up to almost 80% of our courses. Now, we did a little bit of data munging to get to this. We pulled out some of the extraneous stuff that isn't really a course but has a shell. But yeah, we've had a very successful rollout. Faculty are very happy with it, and as a result of that, we've been approached with a lot more things. And so having a visible success to start with, if you can really not only have a positive rollout, but also kind of use it as an opportunity to really get in touch with people and promote a lot of your ideas. It started for us to breed confidence in our ability to do rollouts. And so it wasn't that long ago, I guess 2.5 or so, 3 years ago, we got approached by our provost's office saying, hey, we want to go from paper binders on our tenure and review process to digital dossiers. That's kind of out of scope of what we do. And before that, we weren't really allowed to even hardly say promotion and tenure when we talk to faculty. But suddenly we were being approached, and they're saying, well, you guys have done a good job implementing things, and there's Canvas, there's some of these other tools. Can you help us figure out a solution to do this? And so we did. We built a solution, and next thing we know, we're in front of the Dean's Council, we're in front of the Senate, Faculty Senate, we're standing next to the provost, and we're having conversations about, the promotion and tenure process. And that's done a lot for us organizationally to really allow us to be able to work with faculty more from the standpoint of helping them to advance professionally. And that, in turn, led us to be able to develop this faculty development program. So then later on, we were approached, well, we have our provost lecture series, we have we want to be able to do a faculty conference. You guys have tools. You guys work with faculty. You guys have been, you get some of this. How about you guys take this over? And so now here we are doing professional development, and it's really a lot of fun. So I want to show this a little bit, and if anyone's interested in talking to us, another kind of outcome of this presentation that I'd love to get would be to get potential partners, people who are doing similar things who want to come and share ideas with us. But now over the past couple of years, we've been rolling out what we're calling our Empowering Teaching Excellence program. And a lot of the ideas that we took with our Canvas migration, we've moved into this. So with our Canvas migration, we had faculty committees. We involved faculty in the selection, we involved faculty in the rollout, and then as we did our evaluations and we started to get data of faculty whose courses were good, we started to bring faculty in kind of as advisors and helping us. And so now we're able to roll, now we have faculty committees that still guide us here. And our mission with this is the idea of not necessarily being like a negative approach, but we take the standpoint of a culture of teaching excellence exists at our institution. We know it's there. We have faculty who are doing amazing things. We've met them, we've talked to them, we worked with them while we were doing our Canvas migration. They got to know us, we got to know them. Why don't we magnify this culture? a culture grows when you magnify it. And why don't we just bring those faculty, those best practices into the spotlight, and then let it grow dynamically. Let the new faculty members who are coming in say, oh, now that I'm at Utah State University, I see that there's a lot of really good teachers here. They're doing some really good stuff. I better jump in line with this culture. And then that culture kind of breeds itself. And we took that approach too with Canvas. We've taken that approach as well. Put the focus on the faculty who are doing good things. Put the focus on the positive aspects of Canvas and of our migration. And that's one of the things that helped it to be a success. So some of the cool things we've got here, if you're interested in learning more or collaborating with us, we've rolled out what we call an ETE 10. This is our badging program where we're giving faculty digital badges on an engage, implement, or contribute level, and allowing them to come in and they can receive an engage badge for attending one of our workshops or seminars or conferences. They can receive an implement badge for taking an idea that they've received at one of these and implementing it and then submitting a reflection. The engage one asks for a reflection as well, by the way. And then a contribute badge by turning around and sharing it at one of our events or at a conference or submitting to our journal. And then these are stackable, so then you can have faculty. The reason we call it ETE 10 is because then they can earn, for example, for the first certificate, 6 engage badges, 3 implement, 1 contribute, and get their teaching scholar certificate. And then if they want to go a level up, they can go 4 engage, 3 implement, 3 contribute, and get their master teacher certificate. So we've been getting a lot of interest in this. Faculty have been adopting it and using it. Administrators have been really excited because suddenly they're saying, hey, this is something, our faculty have always wondered, how do we demonstrate our teaching effectiveness? What do we do? We don't have necessarily anything beyond student evaluations to show it. Well, here we're giving faculty a way to be able to come in and show their efforts, show their dedication towards teaching improvement. And this, I really don't think that this would have happened were it not for a successful Canvas migration and working with our faculty closely and leveraging things like rubrics and faculty committees and things like that to make this happen. Some other kind of initiatives that we've picked up as a result. We've picked up the data analytics initiative at our institution. Why is that? Because all of a sudden we went around to administrators saying, hey, we've got data in Canvas. We've got LMS data. Who has that? Nobody, I don't know. So, and then we said, do you have data? We have data, let's put our data together. And then next thing you know, we're taking on the campus analytics initiative. And then also accessibility. We've had that trust as that confidence in our office is built. Now we're taking on an accessibility policy rollout. So some great things have been happening, and it's been really exciting to be a part of. And I guess I can skip past a couple of these now because I've already talked about them. One thing to note here that actually was interesting, an interesting thing that we were able to leverage with our Canvas migration was our student hires. As we were doing all of these rubric evaluations, and then as we started doing documentation and training materials, since we started when Canvas was very young, we went and we said, hey, there's not a lot of documentation. Do you want us to help you out? Like, we have student employees. We can have them start writing this up. Can we just get on your Screen Steps account and have them start writing stuff, and then you guys can strip off the branding and put it on your site? And they said, okay, let's do that. And then they did that for a few months, and then a couple of them got hired by Instructure, and one of them's now the head of the documentation department writing the guides. And so, so for us, having that opportunity to be able to bring in student work and get them kind of trained up, and then it helps for us being in Utah, so we're kind of close. Then we've had some ability to be able to leverage that a little bit and increase and strengthen our vendor ties. Okay, I hope this has come out a bit. One of the keys really, and Canvas has allowed us to do this in ways that we didn't anticipate, is the ability to be able to say yes more often. And this can be a hard thing to do, because sometimes we can be a little bit protectionist of our time and a little bit scared of going out on a limb and failing. But for us, it's been a big, important part of our culture, is the ability to be able to say yes more often. So the first presentation I gave at InstructureCon, I think, was called something about herding cats, and then the next one was called breeding tigers. And that really is kind of what Canvas has allowed us to do. We went from just kind of trying to herd people into the system to the idea of now being able to really leverage and let our rock stars do things that they weren't able to do before. And we did this using various Canvas hooks, and they've made a huge difference. And so I guess the takeaway from this slide would be, and I'll show you some examples here in a sec, but know what your Canvas hooks are and then leverage them. And so for us, it's been, we started out really with the custom JavaScript, and I know that's scary for some folks, and for good reason, because you can break things, and so you have to be careful. But we decided early on, you know, we're going to try to just do what we can to make what we think should happen, and we're, you know, to heck with the consequences. And we just went for it. And then we've learned as we've gone. The other one, then we started to dabble in LTIs and in the APIs, and then the data, and that's really just, those hooks have opened up a lot of possibilities for us. So to give you some examples, here's some kind of simple ones. So we had a department come and say, hey, we have this problem with syllabi, and we have to ask faculty for syllabi every semester, and we have to figure out a way to display them and figure out if they've got them ready. Is there anything you guys can do to help us? You got Canvas, and it has syllabi in them. Can you do anything about that? And we were able to say, you know, Kenneth Larson here was able to say, well, yeah, we've got an API that can pull syllabi. We can use these hooks, and we can start to pull these down, and we can, well, sure, we'll give you a report. And so we gave them a report here of all the courses, and this is probably the wrong semester to show because this is fall 2017, which hasn't happened yet. But, you know, we're able to say, oh, yeah, here, let's pull up our list of courses that have syllabi, and then you just click on the link, and there it'll be. If it's a link, you can download it. If it's an HTML file, you can view it. And then we filter that down so that we can show just the college, and we have departments that are linking to that filtered report to say, for students, here's our syllabi. And then they're encouraging their faculty to go and use Canvas because they're saying this is how you're going to post it. And so now we're talking to our senior executive vice provost about syllabus initiatives on campus and about syllabus strategy. We're in those meetings because we sat down with the department and we said, yes, we'll do this. And then we let people know, and we started sharing it, and we got involved. And that was directly available through what Canvas makes available to us. Here's another example of a report. We got to thinking, hey, how many, I think it was one of our e-learning coordinators said, hey, how many students are taking proctored exams in Canvas? Meaning, like, they're requiring somebody to log them in. And we said, oh, it's a good question. Well, we can start to pull that data. So we used our Canvas data. We used our APIs. We got a report together. We found out that, you know, of all of our courses, we have like 1,349 proctored courses, 16,855 students taking a proctored exam. Actually, this is just recently. It was actually back around spring 16, I think, that we were having this conversation, but we were saying, hey, we had 1,000 proctored exams. We had 10,591 total students. These were the details. These were the data points that they took to the provost's office to argue for creating a testing center and to say we needed a testing center on campus. And then that they used to decide how big that testing center is going to be. This was a direct result of our being able to leverage what's in Canvas and say yes when we were approached. Other examples, we've had courses, and I don't think I have time to go through everything, but we have courses. We had a math teacher come and say, hey, I want to create a build your own course customization, where we have students being able to just choose from like 150 different modules, the 3 or 4 that they want, and then custom build their course on the spot and then take it. And we're like, well, okay, sure, we'll figure it out. And so we got into the Canvas APIs, the LTI, we created tools to solve that problem. Well, what happens as a result of that? Well, later on we get approached by administrators saying, hey, can we take some of these concepts and start to put together ideas of competency-based education? We took some of the things we learned from that project and started to build templating tools that became popular. So this is Kenneth Larson, Kennethware, if you remember that. Here, I can take this thing that we did here, start to build these templating tools that'll make all your life easier. Oh, let's start sharing it. All of a sudden, people are interested, and then it's like, whoa, we can't even support this, so what do? It's commercialized. And so all of this kind of spun out of saying yes, and of utilizing the hooks that are available in Canvas, and really leveraging that to help us to do more. This one was interesting. I didn't quite expect this. We kind of hoped for it, but I felt like we were able to, over the time, since our Canvas migration, get more time. So before we migrated, really, most of our instructional designers, I would say, were instructional designer more by name and maybe less by practice, because a lot of time was spent doing tech support, picking up the phone, and not to say we don't do that, we still do that, but we've been able to share the load. We've been able to spread that out a bit. So it was very helpful that Canvas brought down our training time. We actually don't get nearly as many calls and questions around Canvas as we used to, and that's just made a big difference in and of itself. We eventually went to Canvas and signed up for their Tier 1 support just for our faculty. We actually don't let our students call it. We have a IT help desk that takes care of that. Although I think they do fine with students, Canvas would, but we already have a service for that. But we have our teachers go to them, and that has brought down our workload. Then these design tools that Kenneth built using the Canvas APIs took what used to be maybe like a 4 to 8 hour job setting up a template, a course shell, making it pretty, all that, for a trained instructional designer, down to something that we can have students do, down to something we can do sitting down with faculty for like a half hour or an hour. I mean, it really cut down time. So now we're able to spend more time designing. And then we had some other ideas. We did some cascading phone trees. We said, well, hey, if we've got an Instructure line, and then we've got an IT line, and we've got our line, let's do a phone menu, but then let's have it ring our students, and then it can... Anyway, we did a couple of things there, and it works really well. But we've got time now, and in fact, we had our staff retreat last week. Was it last week? Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I guess it was last week. Time flies. But, and one of the concerns that came up as we were doing a SWOT analysis of our strengths and weaknesses, one of the concerns that came up was, I don't think we're doing and spending enough time with support. I think we're starting to fall behind a little bit. We're losing our edge because we don't do as much support. And that was like music to my ears. I was like, we are not spending enough time on support. We're not getting the support calls. It's not happening. What are we doing? We're spending our time building courses, working with faculty, building faculty development programs, rolling out accessibility initiatives. It's great. So anyway, it's a good problem to have, and it was something that came as a direct result of that migration. And I guess, what would I say? I'm trying to put takeaways on each of these. Go through your migration. I would say if you're in the middle of it, get through it. It's heck. Nobody likes it. But then start freeing up time, finding ways to leverage it, to free up time to focus on your bigger initiatives, because it's going to allow you to do that. Oh, I'm getting ahead. Okay, I mentioned a little bit of this too in some of our initiatives, but one of the things that Canvas has done for us is given us access to data. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that when we started using Canvas data, we knew what we were doing, because we didn't. We just said, hey, we've got data, let's pull it out. Let's start doing stuff. We hired an MIS student. We said, there's a whole bunch of data. You know data, figure it out. And so, and then my director, as some of you might know John Louviere in here, very happy, very cheerful guy. He has what I call a knack for charming audacity. And in a lot of ways, I think that's what's driven our organization. The ability to walk in to the provost's office or to the executive vice provost, sit down, and have some sheet and say, we've got data, and we can make your wildest dreams come true with data. And meanwhile, we're not quite sure how we're actually going to do that. But it's like, we'll get started on it. Are you interested? And then, you pull down your data, you put it in Tableau, you start to get some colorful graphs and charts. One of the takeaways I would say on this is never underestimate the power of colorful charts. So, we walk in, we say, we tell researchers, we walk into our teaching instructional technology and learning sciences department. We say, hey, we've got data. You have researchers who like to study learning. We have data. You want to take a look? And then we spend a lot of time and really realize we didn't quite know what we got ourselves into, but we start to pull questions like, oh, what's the sequence that students take through a course when they come in? How many of them are hitting the home page and then going to modules and then going to another page? What's the sequence that students are taking through a course? These are just examples. We haven't actually updated this for a while, but we've got the ability now to pull reports to be able to say, to find student usage and things like that. We're now working on a dashboard. We're working on dashboarding tools for faculty so that we can have, we've got a page here where we can tell faculty, look, if you're interested in seeing teaching and learning data for your course, come in. We can help you identify some of these different categories: course workload, course content, student overview. Here's some examples. We can give you a view of what content students are looking at in your course, what the final grade distribution is in your course, how students are performing, how it looks when students turn in an assignment late or early or just on time relative to their grade. And anyway, that just continues to build our brand. That continues to build what we can do, who we are. That continues to lead into new initiatives and new things. So, in conclusion, I'd say that many factors have contributed to our growth. We've had culture, timing, leadership, good leadership. We've had very good supportive leadership, which has been wonderful. We've gotten funding, which has been nice, needed. We've done some restructuring. We've had all these factors that have led to things. But a strong Canvas implementation and approaching it right has been a real leveraging factor and has given leverage to all of these. So I guess the real takeaway is I would say find what your leveraging factors are, find what it is you want to do, focus on those, and capitalize on your migration or your efforts to roll out Canvas to make it happen. And then lastly, just a call for partnerships. These are some of the things we're working on. We want automated data visualizations for faculty and student facing. We want to build those. We have our journal for faculty development. We're constantly looking at sending our faculty to conferences, bringing in speakers. If you have people that are doing great things and they'd be great to have on the speaking circuit, let us know. We'd love to hear about them. Maybe we'll have them over. If you have a conference that's great for faculty, let us know. We'll send our faculty there to it. We have a journal. If you have people who need to publish, we're young. We've got one issue out. We're easy to get into. get in now before we're big, right? Which I hope that turns out to be true, but usability and accessibility, if anyone is working on this problem right now, we're kind of knee-deep in getting a policy rolled out, and we're really always looking for collaborators. Christopher Phillips up here is our accessibility specialist. So please, if you're interested in any of that, let us know. We're always looking for partnerships. And that's all for me. Any questions?
How did you get faculty to agree to have the courses audited by students? I think I'm going to freak out.
So the question was, how did you get your faculty to agree to be audited by students? Our faculty would freak out. Do you want to know the deep, dark secret? We didn't ask. We just did it. And then we let them know we did it. And then we were really nice as we talked to them about it. So it was a little bit of a risk there, maybe. But that is a good question. And of course, by just doing it, you know, we owned that it was just us. And we said, look, we're not sharing this with your department head. Although some department heads did later come and ask. But, you know, we said, look, this is just a thing we're doing internally. We're not trying to remediate anything, do anything for your job. We're just trying to help you make your course better. Thank you. That's a good question. Any other questions? All right, well, I'll be up here. I'll stick around up here if anyone has any questions for me directly. We've got some of our USU brainiacs up here, Christopher Phillips, Kenneth Larson, Aaron. You're welcome to come talk to us. Thank you.